The Hexblade Warlock is easily one of the strongest subclass options in the game. A character being handed a weapon where they can channel their patron's power is evocative and is sure to excite players. In this video, we're going to take a look at the key features that make the Hexblade Warlock a powerful option, offer some ideas on how you can reflavor the subclass, and give you some examples to fit the Hexblade Warlock into the official 5th edition settings. Hello, welcome to Dungeoneer's Pack, a channel bringing you player-focused discussions and character guides for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Josh, thank you for watching. Prior to the printing of the Hexblade Warlock, there weren't any viable options that outright allowed a player to create a Warlock with martial capabilities. Even with Pact of the Blade, the only viable way to mix it up in melee was to play as a Fiend Patron Warlock and Multiclass, taking a level or 2 into Fighter. The Hexblade comes along bringing a full suite of options that make it the go-to subclass for this playstyle. All the subclass's key features are given to us at level 1. We obtain an expanded spell list, the Hexblade's Curse, and Hex Warrior features. The expanded spell list provides the Warlock a mix of defensive and offensive options to make them a force in martial combat. At nearly every spell level, Hexblades get a Smite spell which emphasizes the subclass's intended melee offensive role. They offer an alternative option to using the Hex spell, providing additional damage and crowd control effects. Spells like Shield, Blur, and Blink round out their defensive options that focus on avoiding damage. The spell list is what you would expect from a subclass that is aimed at a martial character that enhances their combat abilities with magic. While the Smite spells do offer some variety compared to the tried and true Hex and Eldritch Blast combo, Hex is still utilized as it's seen as reliable and efficient. Smite spells are done once an attack lands, while Hex adds damage to all attacks made. Shield, Blur, and Blink are some of the best defensive spells in the game and are perfect to provide the needed survivability for the subclass's intended playstyle. The next key feature is Hexblade's Curse, which adds a significant power spike at level 1. This feature is similar to the Hex spell. We place a damage boosting buff for ourselves on a target creature that requires no saves. Whenever we attack an enemy that we placed our curse on, we can add a proficiency bonus to our damage. The attack becomes a critical if we roll a 19 or 20, and if the enemy dies, we regain hit points equal to our Warlock level plus our Charisma modifier. Hexblade's Curse is a strong feature, especially when paired with spells and other abilities in the Warlock's toolkit. While it appears that Hexblade's Curse was intended to be a Hex replacement, the Curse does not require our Warlock to maintain concentration, so it stacks with the spell. It requires a 2-turn setup, but it's usually worth it for the longer fights. When getting Hexblade's Curse and Hex up on a target, that would give you an additional d6 plus your proficiency bonus worth of damage on each successful attack. The additional damage is huge for those wanting to swing a weapon and fits the suggested playstyle of the Hexblade. But Hexblade's Curse also works with Eldritch Blast because just like Hex, it only cares if you deal damage with an attack, no matter if it's done with a spell or a weapon. Being able to regain hit points after killing an enemy is just the cherry on top, adding even more survivability for this subclass. The last key feature for the subclass is Hex Warrior, which provides necessary proficiencies for the subclass to survive in melee combat, but also streamlines the Warlock's ability score focus on a single stat. With this feature, we become proficient with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons. We can also use our Charisma modifier and place a Strength or Dexterity for attack and damage rolls as long as we are bonded with the weapon we are proficient with that doesn't have the two-handed property, or with the weapon we summoned with the Pact of the Blade feature over a long rest. While Hex Warrior grants key proficiencies that allow the Warlock to fulfill the character fantasy, the ability to use Charisma and place a Dexterity or Strength for attack and damage rolls makes an already strong subclass outright powerful. This will allow a player to create a streamlined build that will enhance the power of their attacks and spellcasting, unlike other subclasses that offer a similar playstyle and have to balance their build between their martial boosting stat and their spellcasting stat. The Hexblade Patron offers a ton of flexibility in regards to its story, unlike other Warlock subclasses. The basis of the story for the other Warlock subclasses gives a character a direct line to power and relationship with their patron. The fantasy behind the Hexblade still offers that, as the weapon can be a source of power for a character, but the flexibility comes in the option to have the weapon be a conduit, acting as the bridge between a patron and the Warlock. This opens up a character to choose any patron they desire at the cost of some mechanical support to reflect the specific patron's flavor that may already be offered in another subclass. With that said, let's take a look at some flavor changes to the Hexblade that sticks with a patron relationship or takes a subclass in a different direction. The first idea is inspired by comic book characters like Venom and the Eberron setting. The Hexblade weapon could be a symbiote, a living weapon empowering the wielder so they can use it for their own purpose. In exchange, the user provides the symbiote with the means to live, answering to its needs. Hexblade's Curse could be the symbiote enhancing the wielder, having their focus intensify on a target. Another idea would be that Hexblade's Curse reflects the symbiote's hunger, choosing a target they want to feast on. Harengon. A cursed specter could be changed from being the spirit of a fallen enemy to the symbiote briefly taking over the body of the enemy that had just been struck down. If you decide to take up this idea, think about the level of influence the symbiote has on your character. Are you both learning to coexist, or are you both attempting to establish dominance over each other? Another idea to change the flavor of the Hexblade removes it from the idea and character fantasy of the Warlock class. Instead of being beholden to a patron, the Warlock and Hexblade toolkits reflect your ability to blast away with your wand as a wand slinger. Eldritch Blast is a spell casted with your offensive wand, while other cantrips could be casted from other wands. The Warlock features are reflective of your character's limited understanding of magic instead of gifts bestowed upon them by a patron. Each feature from the Hexblade remains the same, but just like features gained as a Warlock, instead of them being given by a patron, they are a reflection of your growth in and understanding of magic. Now let's take a look at how the Hexblade Warlock fits into the official 5th edition settings. In Forgotten Realms, we could play a Warlock who wields a Sword of Cass, a sentient sword who fills the wielder's heart full of hatred and prepares them to defeat the god of lies, Vecna. In Eberron, we could play a dwarf from the Moorholds who has bonded with the symbiote weapon. By using the Daukir's weapons against them, you look to end their assault on the Moorholds once and for all, even at the cost of your sanity. In Ravenloft, we could play a Warlock that wields the Sword of Sergei, a sentient blade that belongs to Sergei von Zarevich, the brother of Count Strahd. While gaining power, the sword fills your heart with one thing: to take revenge on his brother. In Ravnica, we could play a member of the Orzhov Syndicate that has been given power by the Ghost Council to collect the debts or souls of those that owe the guild. In Theros, we could play a Hexblade of any of the gods. You are a god's chosen champion. They have gifted you a weapon built in Perforos' forge to do their bidding. And finally, in Strixhaven, we could play a student of Lorehold College who has reforged an ancient weapon that is bound with a spirit from the past. With the weapon in tow, the spirit guides you to help unlock secrets and long-forgotten magic from the college's past. The Hexblade is a powerful subclass that pushes ahead of other options available in the player's handbook. Wizards attempted to address the issues players were having with creating a melee-capable Warlock. While the intention was clear in its design to make a viable melee Warlock option available to players that didn't require multiclassing, Wizards printed a subclass that was too good. It is front-loaded, with all of its powerful features given to a player at level 1. This makes it an appealing option for those looking to multiclass, especially if they are attempting to play other charisma-based classes with melee subclasses that would benefit from using charisma as their weapon attack stat. Due to the power the Hexblade offers, the power level of other Warlock subclasses introduced to the game will now be measured against it. By no means does this mean I think the Hexblade is bad or that you should avoid it. My concern is the impact the subclass will have on design and player expectations. Many will expect the Hexblade to be the benchmark all other Warlock subclasses must achieve or come close to. While the flavor of the subclass and the expanded spell list favors a melee approach, the features allow for some flexibility, with players capable of building powerful range builds using a crossbow, longbow, or Eldritch Blast. Overall, it's no surprise that the Hexblade Warlock is a favorite amongst players, allowing them to mix it up with the weapon in one hand and casting spells in the other. It's a mechanical powerhouse that offers flexibility in its story, letting players tie their character to any patron. With that said, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the Hexblade Warlock? Let me know down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, I drop a video every week, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you want to check out what I think about other subclasses, how to reflavor them, and fit them into other 5th edition settings, I have a playlist just for you. You can click on the thumbnail on the screen or in the link in the description below. Alright, I'm out of here. Have a good one.